Hi guys! This is going to be a quick refresher of what we learned yesterday in lesson 6.5 on limits. So, if we remember from yesterday, the limit of the sequence is basically the long-term value of the sequence. So if you go way, way, way out in the sequence, what is the sequence doing? Remember, some sequences are going to have a limit, some sequences aren't. So let's review sequences that have a limit. Okay, the limit exists in two cases. So the first case is like this sequence here, where we have -3, -7, -10, -12, -13, -13, -13. So once we hit -13, the sequence stops changing. So once we hit -13, it stays -13 forever. So its long-term value is going to be -13, which means that's its limit. The limit of this sequence would be -13. Okay, but the sequence doesn't have to actually stop changing to have a limit. Um, you can have a limit as long as you're getting closer and closer and closer to a single specific number. So these two sequences are examples of that. So 2, 2.9, 2.99, 2.999, 2.9999. Think to yourself, what number is this getting closer and closer and closer to as I add more and more nines on the end? It's getting closer to 3. It's never going to hit 3, but it's getting forever and ever closer to it. It's approaching 3. That was our special word, right? Approaching 3. So because this sequence approaches 3, we say that its limit is actually 3. Okay, and then this sequence, 1, 0.1, 0.01, 0.001, 0.0001, 0.0001, 01, is this getting closer and closer and closer to a number? So this time our terms are getting smaller, and they're really small, right? Like already this is really small, and then it's going to keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So it's getting closer and closer to 0. So in this case, we say the limit is 0. And in these cases, the terms are approaching a single number. So either the sequence stops changing or its terms approach a single number. That's when we have a limit. Okay, what about when the limit does not exist? So the limit does not exist if we don't approach a single number. Terms don't approach a single number. So there are kind of three main ways this might happen. There's lots of ways it could happen. You could have a totally random sequence, but if you have a sequence with a pattern, there's kind of three big categories. So this sequence is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right? I'm multiplying by 2 every time. It's going to keep growing forever. So this sequence does not have a limit because the terms are just going to get bigger forever. This sequence, 0, -10, -20, -30, -40, that's getting more and more and more negative. And it's never going to stop, so because we're subtracting 10 each time, right? So eventually we're going to hit -1,000, -1,000,000, -1,000,000, whatever. We're going to keep going and going. We're not going to hone in on a particular number. So that's no limit. And then we also have this case where we kind of bounce around. -3, 5, -3, 5, -3, 5. So that's not approaching a single number, it's bouncing around, right? Not honing in on a specific number. So again, that sequence would not have a limit. Okay, that's it for the quick refresher. Go ahead and try your practice problems.